The envelope slipped from Victoria's manicured fingers, tumbling to the marble floor of her penthouse like a fallen leaf in autumn. Its wax seal cracked open by hands that trembled despite years of boardroom steel. Inside, words from a ghost, Elena, whispered promises of wildflowers in Vermont fields, the kind they used to pick under summer suns that felt like stolen time. I never stopped waiting for you to come back, the letter ended. And in that moment, the glittering facade of New York swallowed Victoria whole, her heart pounding against the cage of a life built on envy and lies. Victoria Hale stared at the city lights sprawling below her like a sea of fractured diamonds, each one a reminder of the empire her family had forged from steel and secrets. 28. She was the golden girl of Manhattan's elite, heiress to Hale Industries, face on Forbes' list, whispered about at galas where But tonight, as the letter burned in her palm, she felt the weight of it all, the arranged engagements, the boardroom battles masked as flirtations, the endless parade of suitors who saw her as a trophy, not a woman with cracks in her armor. Elena's words were a lifeline, pulling her back to a summer in the Green Mountains when she was 18, when a nanny with calloused hands and a laugh like wind chimes had taught her that love wasn't inherited, it was unearthed, raw and unyielding. She crumpled the paper, but not before tracing the elegant script with her thumb, the ink faint from years of safekeeping on Elena's end. How had it come to this? A decade of silence, broken by a single airmail from a postmark in Burlington. Victoria's breath hitched as she crossed to the floor-to-ceiling windows, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. Below, taxis honked in a symphony of indifference, while up here, in the Hale penthouse atop One Vanderbilt, isolation wrapped around her like the cashmere throw her assistant had draped over the sofa that morning. She thought of her mother, Evelyn, with her pearls and her prescriptions, who had hired Elena all those years ago to straighten out the wild child, after Victoria's rebellious phase, dyed hair, skipped classes at the private academy, a string of crushes on girls who vanished like smoke. Elena had been 30 then, a widow from Oaxaca who'd crossed the border with dreams bigger than her grief, her English laced with the warmth that made Victoria's cold family home feel almost habitable. That summer in Vermont, the Hales had retreated to their lakeside estate in Stowe, a sprawling cedar lodge meant for family bonding that instead amplified every fracture. Evelyn orchestrated it all: tennis lessons, etiquette seminars, veiled threats about the family legacy. Victoria, sent there as punishment for a leaked photo of her kissing a classmate at a Hamptons party, arrived sullen, her Louis Vuitton suitcase thudding against the gravel drive like an accusation. Elena was waiting on the porch, arms crossed over a faded chambray shirt, her dark curls tied back with a leather cord, brown eyes crinkling at the corners as if she'd already seen through the armor. "Miss Hale," she said, voice like honey over gravel, "I'm here to make sure you don't burn the place down. But if you do, I'll help you rebuild it better." From the first day, Elena became the axis around which Victoria's world tilted. Mornings started with chores disguised as lessons, tending the herb garden behind the lodge, where Elena's hands, scarred from years in kitchens and fields, guided Victoria's through soil that yielded basil and thyme like buried treasure. "Life's not about the silver spoon," Elena murmured one afternoon, wiping dirt from Victoria's cheek with a thumb that lingered a beat too long. "It's about what you plant and what grows back." Victoria, who had never so much as folded a napkin without help, felt a spark then, something foreign and fierce, blooming in the space between resentment and revelation. Evenings were for letters. Not the perfumed missives Victoria's mother exchanged with society wives, but raw confessions scribbled on lined paper from the estate study. Elena would sit across from her at the oak desk, feet tucked under her stool, sharing stories of her village in Mexico, festivals under starlit skies, the way her late husband's laugh could chase away storms. Victoria listened, then wrote back, not to distant cousins or boarding school friends, but to Elena, slipping notes under her cabin door at the edge of the property. "You make me feel seen," one read. Folded into a paper crane Victoria learned to craft from Elena's origami lessons. The replies came folded in wildflower petals. "And you make me remember why I crossed oceans." By mid-July, the air between them thickened with unspoken currents. They hiked the long trail at dusk, Victoria's designer boots sinking into mud while Elena's work boots cut sure paths. At a clearing overlooking Smuggler's Notch, Elena pulled a flask from her pack, mezcal, sharp and smoky, and they passed it under the fading light, shoulders brushing in a way that sent heat coiling through Victoria's veins. "Tell me something true," Elena challenged, her gaze steady as the lake below. Victoria hesitated, then whispered, "I think I like girls." "Not the way Mother says I should." Elena's hand found hers then, calluses against silk, and the world narrowed to that touch. "Then like them fiercely. Mija. The world will try to take it from you, but it can't if you hold on tight." Their first kiss happened under a harvest moon, after a storm had chased them into the boathouse. Rain hammered the tin roof as Victoria, soaked and shivering, turned to Elena with eyes wide as the thunder cracked. "What if this is all I ever want?" she breathed. And Elena cupped her face, thumbs tracing jawlines like maps to forgotten shores. Their lips met soft at first, tentative, then deepening with the urgency of secrets long guarded. Victoria tasted salt and earth, Elena's hands tangling in her wet hair, pulling her closer until the line between mentor and lover blurred into something sacred. They didn't speak after. Words felt too small for the ache that followed, a sweet soreness that lingered like the scent of pine. But August brought the reckoning. Evelyn discovered a letter, Victoria's, tucked in a boot, its words too tender, too telling. "We can't," her mother hissed in the library, face pale as the marble busts lining the shelves. "She's staff. She's not one of us." The dismissal was swift. Elena's contract terminated that night, her cabin emptied by dawn. Victoria begged, screamed, locked herself in her room until the locksmith came. In the chaos, Elena slipped her one last note. "Write to me when you're free. I'll be waiting in Burlington. You're always." Victoria memorized it, burned it in the fireplace, the flames dancing like the fire in her chest. Back in Manhattan, the letters became her rebellion. Mailed to a P.O. box Elena had scrawled on a napkin, they chronicled Victoria's unraveling, the debutante balls where she smiled through gritted teeth, the Harvard law degree pursued to appease her father, the parade of eligible bachelors her mother paraded like auction lots. Elena's replies were lifelines, postcards from craft fairs, sketches of Lake Champlain sunsets, words that wrapped around Victoria's heart like vines. "You're more than their empire," one read. "You're the storm that shapes it." Now, 10 years later, as Victoria paced her penthouse, the city a glittering trap below, that latest letter felt like a key turning in a long-locked door. Elena's words, "I'm still here. Victoria." "But are you?" The question hung heavy, mirroring the diamond on her finger, a 3-carat solitaire from Theodore Langston, heir to a banking dynasty. Proposed to last month amid crystal chandeliers and forced applause. Their engagement photo had gone viral. Victoria in ivory lace. Theodore's arm possessive around her waist. Her smile a masterpiece of restraint. Envy poured in. Comments from strangers dreaming of her life. Her closets. Her corner office overlooking Central Park. But no one saw the nights she spent drafting letters to Elena, sealing them with wax from a candle she bought in a Greenwich Village occult shop. As if incantations could summon the woman who had cracked her open. She sank onto the velvet chaise, the letter unfurling in her lap like a flag of surrender. Theodore was due in an hour, dinner at Le Bernardin, then the opera. His hand on her knee under the table like a claim staked in enemy territory. He was kind. In his way, Harvard too. With a jawline that sold cologne ads and a future mapped out in mergers. But when he kissed her, it was perfunctory. A transaction. With Elena, it had been communion. Victoria's fingers itched for pen and paper. But instead, she reached for her phone, scrolling through old photos smuggled from that summer. Elena laughing in the garden, dirt-streaked and radiant, the two of them by the lake, arms linked, Victoria's head on her shoulder, the water a mirror for emotions too vast to name. A knock echoed, her assistant, Lila, with the evening's itinerary. "Miss Hale, your car is ready." Lila, 22 and sharp as a stiletto, hovered in the doorway, her bob haircut swinging like a pendulum. She was the only one who sensed the fractures, the way Victoria's eyes glazed during meetings about sustainable mining, Hale Industries' latest PR pivot. "Everything all right?" Lila asked, voice soft as cashmere. Victoria folded the letter, tucking it into her clutch like contraband. Just another Tuesday. But as she descended in the private elevator, mirrors reflecting her poised reflection back at her, doubt coiled tighter. Theodore waited curbside, all pressed wool and easy charm. But his kiss hello tasted like obligation. Over foie gras and whispers of wedding venues in the Hamptons, he spoke of board seats. The Hale-Langston merger that would change the game. Victoria nodded, her mind adrift to Vermont rains, Elena's hands steadying her against the world. That night, after the opera's crescendo faded and Theodore's driver ferried him to his own Upper East Side fortress, Victoria returned to the penthouse alone. The city hummed beyond the glass, a beast that never slept, much like the restlessness in her bones. She poured a glass of the 82 Bordeaux her father kept for victories, but it soured on her tongue. Crossing to her desk, an antique partner's piece from the family vault, she pulled stationery from the drawer, heavy cream stock embossed with VH in gold foil. The pen felt foreign, heavy as guilt, but the words flowed once started. "Dearest Elena," she began, the salutation a bridge across years. "Your letter arrived like a thunderclap in this sterile sky. I've built walls around myself, brick by envy, mortar of expectation. But they crack at your name." She wrote of Theodore's proposal, the flashbulbs that blinded her more than the ring, of her mother's approving nod, a rare gem in their frosted relations, of the way New York's pulse quickened without her, as if the city knew she was hollow. "I dream of the boathouse still," she confessed, ink blurring where a tear fell. "Of your hands. Your voice sang my name like a prayer. Am I too late, or is there a path back to us? Through the wildflowers and the rain." She sealed it with wax, the flames glow casting shadows that danced like memories. As dawn crept over the skyline, painting the Hudson in pinks and golds, Victoria slipped the envelope into her bag for mailing at dawn. For the first time in years, sleep came not as escape, but as anticipation, a fragile hope that Elena's waiting wasn't a ghost, but a promise. The post office on Madison Avenue was a relic amid the boutiques, its brass fittings tarnished but proud, the kind of place where hurried executives dropped packages without a second glance. Victoria arrived just as the doors opened, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, her trench coat Burberry, vintage, billowing behind her as if she were fleeing a scandal. The clerk, a grizzled man named Sal with a Yankees cap tilted low, recognized her from the society pages. "Miss Hale," he grunted, stamping her envelope with deliberate care. "To Vermont again? Got a secret admirer up there." She forced a laugh. "Light as spun sugar." Something like that. But as she stepped back into the October chill, the wind whipping her auburn waves across her face, the act of sending it felt like exhaling after years underwater. Burlington. Elena's city now, where she'd built a life from the ashes of their summer. A small bookstore off Church Street, shelves groaning with queer lit and cookbooks from her homeland. A cat named Frida who curled at her feet during late-night readings. Victoria had stalked the place online once. Late at night with a glass of Pinot in hand, Elena's profile photo a thumbnail of warmth, smiling amid stacks of paperbacks. Her curls longer now, threaded with silver. Back at Hale Tower, the boardroom awaited like a coliseum. Victoria smoothed her pencil skirt, Chanel, black as resolve, and stepped into the fray. Her father, Reginald Hale, presided at the head, his silver hair impeccable, eyes like chips of ice assessing the room. "Victoria, your thoughts on the Montana acquisition?" he asked, voice smooth as the single malt he favored. The table fell silent. Executives in Hermes ties, analysts with tablets aglow. She launched into her pitch, community partnerships, a nod to the greenwashing that kept shareholders happy, her words precise, laced with the charisma that had earned her the nickname the Viper in whispers. Applause rippled as she finished, but Reginald's nod was perfunctory. "Solid. Theodore's input on financing will seal it." The mention twisted like a knife. Theodore, with his spreadsheets and his safe affections, orbiting her world like a moon too distant to warm. Lunch was a power salad at St. Ambrius, where Evelyn joined via video from Palm Beach, her face a mask of Botox and bourbon. "Darling." The wedding planner sent swatches, ivory or blush for the tints. Evelyn's voice tinkled like ice in a highball, but her eyes darted, always searching for weakness. Victoria murmured approvals, her mind elsewhere. Elena's reply, "Vic came," carried on winds from Lake Champlain. It arrived a week later, slipped into her mail slot by Lila, who knew better than to comment on the handwritten scrawl. Victoria retreated to the rooftop garden, oasis amid the concrete, with its Japanese maples shedding crimson leaves like confessions. She sank onto a wrought iron bench, the envelopes paper thin as hope, Elena's script bolder now, as if the years had emboldened her. "My Victoria," it began, and the possessiveness stole her breath. "Your words landed like the first snow, soft, but blanketing everything. I've read them a dozen times, tracing your loops like Braille. Theodore sounds like a cage with velvet bars. Remember the trail? How we climbed until our legs burned, but the view made it worth every step? That's you to me, worth the ache." Elena wrote of her days, mornings brewing Oaxacan coffee for early browsers, Afternoons hosting readings for local writers. Evenings with Frida purring on her lap as she sketched portraits from memory. Victoria's face. Always. Eyes fierce and searching. "I never married the silence you left," she confessed. "Men came and went. Kind but not you. Women too. But none with your storm. Come see the bookstore. Or I'll come to you. If the city doesn't swallow me whole." Tears pricked. Hot and unbidden. Victoria pressed the letter to her chest. The wind rustling pages like whispers. The city didn't swallow, it devoured. But Elena's invitation was a crack in the dam. Water seeping through. That night, at a fundraiser for the Met black tie, diamonds dripping from necks like chandeliers, Victoria drifted through the crowd. Theodore's hand at her elbow, a anchor she resented. Donors fond. The power couple. They cooed. Clinking glasses to futures unwritten. She smiled. Nodded. But her eyes sought escape. The cloister's tapestries in her mind. Woven with threads of what-ifs. Theodore sensed the drift later. In the limo home. His fingers tracing her knee. "You're miles away tonight." His voice was gentle. Probing without accusation. Victoria turned. Studying his profile in the passing light, strong. Unyielding. The face of stability. "Just wedding jitters," she lied. The words ash on her tongue. He pulled her close. Lips brushing her temple. "We'll make it work. Vic. You and me against the world." But as his mouth found hers. Insistent now. She closed her eyes and saw Elena's soft, knowing, pulling her into depths where surrender felt like flight. Guilt gnawed through the weekend. A gala at the plaza yielding to a rare Sunday brunch with Reginald at the polo bar. He spoke of legacy. Of Hale bloodlines unbroken. His fork spearing eggs Benedict like enemies felt. "The Langston alliance cements us for generations," he said. Eyes locking on hers. "Don't squander it." Victoria sipped her mimosa. Bubbles rising like suppressed retorts. Squander. As if her heart were a stock portfolio. Traded on feelings. She excused herself early. Claiming a migraine. And fled to Central Park. Where joggers blurred past like lives unlived. There. Under the bow bridge. She drafted her reply on a bench. The autumn leaves carpeting the path in gold. "Your words are oxygen," she wrote. "Theodore is the map they drew for me. But you're the compass I lost." The wedding looms like a shadow. December. At the family estate in the Berkshires. Mother insists on tradition. But what if I rewrite it? She hesitated. Pen hovering. Then added the reckless. "Meet me in Stowe." The lodge is empty this time of year. One weekend. To see if the wildflowers still bloom. Sealing it. She walked to the park's edge. Mailing it from a corner box that smelled of rain and regret. The days blurred into a fever. Board meetings bled into fittings. Vera Wong gown. Lace bodice hugging curves like a lover's hands. Lila noticed the pallor. The way Victoria's gaze lingered on the skyline. "Take a day," she urged one morning. Handing over a latte. "The world won't end if you breathe." Victoria almost confessed then. The letters. The pull north but swallowed it. Trading vulnerability for a nod. Instead, she booked the jet for Friday. Telling Theodore it was a solo retreat for clarity. He bought it. Kissing her goodbye with a promise of Paris for their honeymoon. "Clear your head. Love. I'll be here." Burlington welcomed her with crisp air. and the scent of maple from roadside stands, the Adirondack chairs on porches sagging under invisible weights. Victoria rented a Jeep, practical, anonymous, and drove the winding roads to Stowe, heart hammering like the pistons. The lodge loomed at dusk, its cedar facade weathered but steadfast, windows dark as forgotten promises. She let herself in with the spare key, hidden under the loose porch board, the air inside musty with disuse. Here, her old room waited, four-poster bed, quilts folded neat, the desk where letters had first flowed. She unpacked minimally, a weekend bag with jeans and sweaters, cashmere soft as skin, and lit a fire in the grate, flames licking logs like tentative tongues. Sleep evaded her, the clock ticking toward Elena's arrival. What if she didn't come? What if the years had eroded the bridge? Dawn broke with frost on the panes, and Victoria wandered the grounds, breath fogging as she plucked wilted asters from the garden. Elena's garden, roots stubborn in the chill. The crunch of gravel announced her at noon, a battered Subaru pulling up. Elena stepping out in boots and a wool coat, scarf knotted loose around her neck. Time had sculpted her, lines at her eyes like laugh tracks, curls streaked silver like moonlit rivers, but the warmth hit Victoria like sunlight after storm. "You came," Elena said, voice cracking on the edges. And then they were moving, arms wrapping, bodies colliding in a hug that bridged oceans. Elena smelled of books and spice, her embrace fierce, unyielding. "I couldn't not," she whispered into Victoria's hair. "Not after your storm." They pulled apart slowly, hands lingering on arms, eyes mapping changes. "The place hasn't changed," Elena said, glancing at the lodge. "But you're a force now," Victoria laughed, Eggy, leading her inside. Over tea in the kitchen, mugs chipped from years past, they talked haltingly at first, Elena's bookstore thriving, a poetry collection self-published, Victoria's ascent, the envy that tasted like dust. Laughter came easier with the fire's glow. Stories tumbling like leaves, Elena's cat's antics, Victoria's botched skydiving attempt in the Keys. By evening, the air hummed with undercurrents. They cooked together, pozole from Elena's recipe, hominy bubbling with pork and chiles, Victoria chopping onions with tears that weren't just from the sting. "Like old times," she murmured, and Elena's hand brushed hers over the pot, a spark jumping. Dinner by the hearth, candles flickering, led to confessions deeper, Elena's lovers, fleeting shadows, Victoria's near misses, kisses stolen at parties that left her hollow. "I said yes to him because it's easy," Victoria admitted, wine warming her cheeks. "But nothing about you ever was." Elena's gaze held hers, steady as the lake. "Easy breaks. Hard forges." She reached across, fingers intertwining, and the kiss followed slow, deliberate, tasting of chiles and years. Victoria melted into it, hands framing Elena's face, the world narrowing to this room, this reclaiming. They moved to the rug, clothes shedding like old skins, bodies rediscovering rhythms lost to time. Elena's touch was map and memory, tracing scars Victoria didn't know she bore, whispers in Spanish mingling with gasps. In the afterglow, tangled in quilts, Victoria traced Elena's collarbone. "What now?" she breathed. "Now," Elena said, kissing her palm. "We choose." Morning light slanted through the blinds like golden fingers, caressing the tangle of limbs on the floor where quilts had migrated in the night. Victoria woke first. Elena's head pillowed on her breast, dark curls spilling like ink across pale skin. The rise and fall of her breathing was a lullaby, steady and sure, chasing away the ghosts of Manhattan's clamor. For a moment, Victoria lay still, memorizing the weight, the warmth, the way Elena's lashes fluttered against her collarbone like whispers. It was fragile, this interlude, a stolen weekend in a house of echoes, but it felt like home. They rose slowly, padding to the kitchen in robes pilfered from the linen closet, the lodge's silence broken only by the percolator's gurgle. Elena moved with easy grace, cracking eggs into a cast-iron skillet, her laughter bubbling as Victoria attempted tortillas from a bag of masa Elena had brought. Patience. Amor, she teased, hip-checking Victoria aside to salvage the dough. Some things can't be rushed. They ate at the scarred pine table, plates heaped with huevos rancheros, the spice cutting through the chill. Conversation flowed like the coffee, light at first. Skirting edges. Elena's latest reading. A young poet grappling with coming out in rural Vermont. Victoria's pet project. A Hale Foundation grant for immigrant artists, born from letters that had seeded ideas across miles. But the undercurrent pulled stronger as they cleared dishes, Elena's hand lingering on Victoria's waist. "Tell me about him," she said. Suds foaming under running water. "The man with the ring." Victoria leaned against the counter, drying a plate with deliberate strokes. "Theodore." The name evoked boardrooms and brunches, his touch polite as a handshake. "He's reliable," she said, the word landing flat. "Plans galas for orphans, funds scholarships. Mother calls him the future." Elena turned, water dripping from her wrists, eyes searching. "And you? What do you call him?" Victoria set the plate down, the clink echoing. A pause. The admission hung. And Elena drew her close, foreheads touching, breaths mingling. "Then unpause yourself," she murmured. "Before the world writes your ending." They kissed there, slow and deep, the sink forgotten, water pooling on the floor like unshed tears. It led upstairs, to Victoria's old bed, where sunlight pooled on sheets as they explored anew, gentle now, mapping freckles and curves with lips and fingertips. Elena's voice a litany of affirmations in two tongues. "Hermosa," she breathed against Victoria's thigh. "Brava." Afterward, they lay entwined, windows open to birdsong, the world outside a watercolor blur. The afternoon called them to the trails, boots crunching frost-kissed leaves, packs light with thermoses of cider. They hiked the Sterling Pond Loop, the path climbing through birch groves golden with fall, Elena pointing out edible mushrooms and the tracks of deer in mud. Victoria, city soften, panted up inclines. But Elena's hand steadied her, pulling her along with stories of her own hikes, solitary treks after loss, where mountains had taught resilience. At the pond's edge, they sat on a boulder, legs dangling over water like sapphire glass, steam rising from mugs. "I thought I'd lost this," Victoria said, gesturing to the vista, but meaning them. Elena sipped, gaze on the horizon. "We lose what we don't fight for." But here we are. Dusk drove them back, the lodge aglow with lamps Victoria had lit against the gathering dark. Dinner was simple, grilled trout from the lake, caught on a whim with rods from the boathouse, Elena's casting sure as her heart. Over wine, shadows lengthening, the talk turned heavier, Evelyn's edicts. Reginald's empire. The wedding invitations printed on linen stock. They expect heirs, Victoria said. Voice small. Legacy and blood. Elena's fork paused. Eyes darkening. Blood isn't love. You know that. She reached across, thumb stroking knuckles. But if you stay in that cage. The unfinished sentence lingered like smoke. Victoria pulled away, pacing to the window, the night pressing close. What if I can't leave? The company. The name, it's all I've known. Elena rose, arms encircling from behind, chin on shoulder. You've known me. And that was enough once. The embrace tightened, turning, lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of cider and challenge. They made love on the sofa that night, urgent and unhurried, bodies speaking what words faltered, Victoria arching under Elena's mouth, gasps echoing off beams, release crashing like waves on the shore below. Sunday dawned gray, clouds scudding low, mirroring the ache in Victoria's chest. They lingered in bed, sheets rumpled, Elena's fingers tracing lazy patterns on her back. Stay another day, Victoria whispered. But Elena shook her head, curls brushing pillow. Real life waits. But this, she gestured between them, doesn't end here. They pack slowly, folding clothes with care. Each item a talisman, Victoria's scarf draped over Elena's pack, a wildflower pressed between pages of Elena's journal. At the door, goodbye stretched, kisses deepening, hands clutching as if to imprint shapes. Write me, Elena said, cupping Victoria's face. Every day. If you must. But come back soon. The Subaru's engine turned over, taillights fading down the drive, leaving Victoria alone with the wind's howl. She wandered the empty rooms, touching surfaces like relics, the kitchen counter where dough had flown, the trail map pinned crooked on the wall. By noon, she was in the Jeep, heading south, the lodge shrinking in the rearview like a dream dissolving. Manhattan reclaimed her Monday, the penthouse sterile after Stowe's embrace. Lila greeted her with a stack of memos, eyebrows arched. Productive retreat? Victoria managed a smile, shedding her coat. You could say that. Work swallowed the week. Negotiations on the Montana deal. Theodore's calls laced with affection. Evelyn's texts about floral arrangements. But evenings were Elena's, letters mailed from corner boxes, words pouring out like confessions. Your scent lingers on my skin, one read. The city feels smaller now. Knowing you're north. Elena's replies arrived like breaths, sketches of the pond, poems clipped from her readings, promises woven in prose. Fight for us, she urged. Or let me come fight with you. The temptation gnawed. Visions of Elena in New York, her laugh cutting through galas, hand in Victoria's at openings. But doubt crept, the board's scrutiny, Theodore's trust, the hail name a noose disguised as crown. Thanksgiving loomed. A family affair at the Berkshire's estate, early snow dusting the peaks. Tables set for 20 with crystal and silver. Victoria arrived tense. Theodore at her side, his grip firm on the wheel of the Bentley. Evelyn swept in with air kisses, Reginald clapping shoulders, aunts and uncles toasting futures. Dinner was roast turkey and toasts to mergers. But Victoria's mind wandered to Elena's table, perhaps tamales with friends, laughter warm as mole. She excused herself mid-meal, slipping to the library with her phone. A text sent impulsively, missing you amid the pageantry. Send a photo. The reply buzzed minutes later. Elena in her kitchen. Sleeves rolled. Flour-dusted cheeks. A tamale steaming beside. Save me a seat next year? Victoria's heart clenched. Thumbs flying. Every chair is yours. She rejoined the fray. Theodore's puzzled glance met with a squeeze of his hand. Guilt's small offering. December crept in with frost and frenzy. Gown fittings. Guest lists ballooning to 200. Paparazzi staking Tribeca spots. Victoria buried herself in work. The foundation grant approved with her signature flourish. Checks cut to artists like Elena, voices from margins. But nights brought dreams. Stowe rains. Elena's body arching. Wakefulness slick with sweat and longing. Theodore proposed a weekend away, Aspen. Slopes and spas, but she demurred. Citing deadlines. Soon, she promised. Hating the lie. Christmas Eve found her at the plaza's Oak Room. Family traditions in tuxedos and tinsel. Theodore gifted a bracelet, emeralds matching her eyes, slipped onto her wrist with vows of forever. To us, he toasted. And Victoria echoed. The metal cold as resolve. Alone in her room later. She penned Elena. Gifts wrapped in expectation. Yours unwrapped me. NYE at the bookstore? I'll fly up. The seal pressed. Wax cooling like a vow. New Year's dawned bitter. Snow blanketing the city in hush. Victoria boarded the jet at dawn. Theodore's kiss lingering like cologne cloying. Burlington's airport was chaos. Revelers stumbling. But she wove through to Elena's Subaru waiting curbside. The drive to Church Street was charged. Hands brushing gear shift. Elena's profile lit by dash lights. Happy New Year, she said. Parking. And they tumbled into the bookstore. Door locked behind. The space was magic. Shelves arching like cathedral vaults. Fairy lights twinkling amid tomes. Elena poured champagne from a chilled bottle. Flutes clinking as midnight neared. To storms, she toasted. Eyes gleaming. They kissed as bells tolled. Deep and devouring. Books tumbling in their wake. There. In Elena's loft beamed ceilings. Quilts on a futon. They rang in the year with bodies entwined. Elena's moans a symphony over the street's cheers. Dawn found them spent. Coffee brewing. Plans hatching like seeds. I'll tell him, Victoria whispered. Head on Elena's lap. After the wedding, no. Before. I can't. Elena stroked her hair. Voice steady. Then do. I'm here. Back in New York. Resolve hardened like ice. But fate intervened. A call from Lila mid-flight. Theodore knows. Victoria's blood chilled. Knows what? Lila's paws stretched. About the letters. Someone leaked them to him. The jet's cabin tilted as turbulence hit, mirroring the churn in Victoria's gut. Lila's words looping like a glitch. Leaked. The letters, her rawest self. Scrawled confessions to Elena. Now weapons in unknown hands. She gripped the armrest. Knuckles whitening against the leather. The pilot's voice crackling over intercom about headwinds. Headwinds. If only. By touchdown at Teterboro. Her phone buzzed incessantly. Theodore. 3 missed calls. Evelyn. A voicemail terse as a subpoena. Call me immediately. This is unacceptable. Lila met her at the hangar. Face drawn under the halogen lights. A tablet clutched like a shield. It hit the post this morning, she said, thrusting it forward. The headline screamed from the screen. Heiress's steamy secret. Letters to ex-nanny rock Langston Empire? Below. Grainy scans, her handwriting unmistakable. Phrases like "your hands on my skin" circled in red. Anonymous source. The byline smirked. But Victoria knew the scent. Betrayal. Sharp as Evelyn's perfume. Who? She demanded. Voice a whip. Lila shook her head. IT's tracing the leak. But Theodore. He's at your place. The drive to the penthouse blurred, sirens wailing. Snow flurrying like confetti from hell. Theodore waited in the living room. Suit rumpled. A tumbler of scotch sweating on the coffee table. His eyes, usually warm with calculation, were storm clouds. Vic. One word. Heavy as indictment. She shed her coat, facing him across the rug. The city of frozen tableau beyond. It's not what. He held up a hand, the bracelet from Christmas glinting mockingly. Don't. I saw the photos too, Stowe. The two of you. His voice cracked. Not with rage, but hurt. A novelty that twisted deeper. Victoria sank onto the chaise, the same where she drafted letters by candlelight. Theodore. Lies crowded her tongue, affairs of convenience. But truth barreled through. I love her. Elena. Have since I was 18. The admission hung. The room contracting around it. Theodore paced. Glass clinking against teeth. 18. Christ. Vic. While I was interning at your dad's firm, dreaming of this, he gestured wildly, encompassing the view, the ring, the myth. And you're writing sonnets to the help? The word landed like a slap. Class warfare in 2 syllables. Victoria flinched. Fire rising. She wasn't help. She was everything you aren't. Real. He laughed. Bitter bark. Real? That's rich. Coming from Park Avenue's princess. He hurled the glass. It shattered against the wall. Amber shards raining. My father's pulling financing on the Montana deal. Says Hale blood's tainted. Victoria surged up. Heart pounding. Let him. I'll fight it. But Theodore's eyes softened. Defeat etching lines. Fight for what? Us? There is no us now. He pocketed the ring box from the mantel, her solitaire. Reclaimed and walked out. Door clicking like a guillotine. Alone. Victoria crumpled. Sobs racking as the post's words echoed. Envy's illusion shattered. But so too her armor. She called Elena. Voicemail filling with please. It's out. Come. Please. Hours later. Elena arrived, cab from the airport. Coat dusted white. Folding Victoria into arms that smelled of hurried travel and home. I'm here, she murmured, rocking her on the floor amid glass splinters. They cleaned together. Silent communion. Then retreated to bed. Elena's body a bulwark against the storm. Morning brought siege. Evelyn at the door. Pearls clutched like rosaries. Reginald looming in the hall like judgment. Scandal, Evelyn hissed. Sweeping in. Lila trailing with coffee tray. The board's in uproar. Langston's threatening lawsuit, breach of promise. Reginald's gaze bored into Victoria. Unyielding. Fix this. Or step down. Elena, in borrowed robe, met their stares from the kitchen. Chin lifted. She doesn't need fixing. She needs freedom. Evelyn's laugh was ice. And you? The nanny with delusions. Elena stepped forward. Voice steel. The woman who taught her love isn't a transaction. Reginald's face purpled. But Victoria interjected. Hand finding Elena's. Enough. I'm done playing your game. The words ignited chaos. Evelyn's threats of disinheritance. Reginald's ultimatums, but Victoria held firm. Elena's presence a spine she hadn't known she lacked. They left hours later. Evelyn's parting shot. You'll regret this. Victoria hail. The penthouse emptied. And Victoria turned to Elena. Exhaustion carving hollows. What now? Elena kissed her forehead. We build. Your place or mine? Victoria chose North Burlington. The bookstore's loft a sanctuary. They packed light. Victoria's closets raided for essentials. The rest left to ghosts. The flight was quiet. Hands clasped. New York shrinking below like a bad dream. Burlington embraced them with lake winds and normalcy. Grocery runs to City Market. Elena's cat Frida sniffing Victoria's ankles warily. The bookstore became command central, Victoria on her laptop. Fielding calls from lawyers. Shoring hail shares against the dip. Media hounded. TMZ vans circling Stowe in memory. Reporters at the door begging the nanny's side. Elena fielded them with wit. Turning interviews to queer rights. Immigrant stories. Her voice a megaphone for margins. But fractures surfaced in the hush. Victoria's nightmares of boardroom coups. Elena's quiet fears of being the other woman in tabloids. One night. Over Pozole in the loft. It erupted. You left a life for this, Elena said. Spoon clattering. But what if regret creeps in? The galas. The power. Victoria's temper flared. Rare and raw. Regret? That's the city talking. I chose you. They argued, voices rising over Frida's yowls, until tears breached. Elena pulling her close. I know. Just scared. Making up was fierce. Bodies slamming against walls. Reclaiming in gasps and grips. January thawed into advocacy. Victoria testified at a Senate hearing on corporate equality. Her story, Heiress, turned out, fueling bills against discrimination. Elena at her side. Hand under the table. Their union a quiet revolution. Theodore resurfaced once. A letter via courier. No lawsuit. Just heal. Forgiveness as seed. Planted uneasy. Spring bloomed with wildflowers mailed from Stowe, Victoria's doing. A garden revived. They hiked again. Packs heavy with picnics. Elena's ring, simple gold. Engraved with storm. Slipped on at the pond. Marry me? Victoria asked. Knee damp from moss. Elena's yes was a sob. Kiss sealing amid chirps. But shadows lingered. Evelyn's silence broke with a package, old photos. Victoria's child. A note. Blood calls. Temptation tug. Legacy's whisper. Victoria burned it in the loft sink. Ashes swirling to the fan. I'm Hale, she told Elena. But yours. Summer solstice. They wed in Stowe Small. Under oaks. Lila officiating in a sundress. Friends from Elena's circles toasting with mezcal. Vows exchanged, Victoria's I choose the wild, Elena's and I'll tend it. Rings glinted. Dances barefoot on grass. The lake mirroring joy. Yet autumn whispered tests. Hale Industries faltered. Reginald stroke sidelining him. Bored eyeing Victoria's return. Offers came, CEO with caveats. Discretion. She waited in Burlington nights. Elena's head on her chest. Go if it calls, Elena said. We'll bridge it. Victoria declined, launching her own firm, Sustainable Ventures, queer-led. Envy shifted. Headlines now hails Airforge's new path. Winter's Eve. Snow falling soft. They curled in the loft. Letters boxed as relics. We shattered illusions, Victoria murmured. Elena smiled, tracing lips. And built truths. The first frost etched fractals on the bookstore windows, turning Church Street into a gallery of ice and light. But inside, the air hummed with the scent of fresh espresso and aged pages. Victoria balanced ledgers at a corner table, her laptop open to projections for Hale Renewables, the firm she'd birthed from ashes, now funding solar arrays in Vermont hollows and urban farms in Bronx lots. Elena moved like a current through the stacks, reshelving volumes with a hum, her silver-streaked curls catching the lamp's glow. 9 months into their marriage, and still, Victoria caught herself staring, marveling at the woman who'd unraveled her world and rewoven it finer. A customer interrupted, a young woman with a buzz cut and tattooed wrists, browsing the LGBTQ+ shelf, fingers trailing spines of Audre Lorde and Alison Bechdel. This the place? She asked Elena, voice tentative. Elena nodded, pulling a stool. Every place starts somewhere. What's drawing you? They talked for an hour, Victoria eavesdropping, heart swelling at Elena's ease, the way she coaxed stories from strangers like hidden blooms. The woman left with a stack and a smile, and Elena returned, dropping a kiss on Victoria's crown. Your turn. Reading. Victoria closed the laptop, stretching kinks from her neck. Numbers bore me today. Walk. They bundled into coats, Elena's wool poncho a gift from Oaxaca kin, Victoria's shearling lined with memories, and stepped into the bite, hands linking against the cold. Lake Champlain stretched gray and vast, ferries cutting wakes like sighs. Reginald called, Victoria said, breath-fogging. Elena squeezed. And, pause, wind whipping. He's recovering. Wants me at the estate. Family matters. The words carried barbs. Legacies hook. Elena stopped, turning her to face the water. Go if you need. But remember, family's what you claim. Victoria nodded. But doubt coiled. Visions of Berkshire's fireplaces and boardroom ghosts. That night, in the loft, it surfaced, Victoria pacing beams, Elena watching from the futon. What if they need me? The company's fracturing without. Elena rose, arms barring the path. Without what? You? Survived before. We survive with. The argument brewed slow, Victoria's fears of abandonment, Elena's of being secondary, culminating in shouts that echoed off brick. I gave up everything, Victoria cried. Elena's retort. And I gave you peace. Silence crashed. Then tears. Elena pulling her down. Apologies murmured into hair. We're both scared, Elena whispered, hands roaming soothing paths. Lovemaking followed, tender and anchoring, bodies sinking like tides. Dawn brought clarity. Victoria booked the train, Elena packing a bag. Together, she insisted. Or not at all. The ride south was meditative. Rails humming under snow-draped hills. Elena's head on Victoria's shoulder. A dog-eared novel open on her lap. Berkshire Station met them with flurries. The family car idling, chauffeur discreet. Eyes averted from tabloid scars. The estate loomed. Manor house aglow. But hollowed by absence. Staff reduced. Halls echoing. Evelyn greeted in the foyer. Thinner. Pearls loose on her neck. Victoria. No warmth. But no venom. Reginald waited in the study. Wheelchair-bound. Face gaunt but eyes sharp. Sit, he commanded, gesturing to wingbacks by the fire. Talk was terse. Hale Industries hemorrhaging from the scandal's ripple stock dips. Partner pullouts. Your liaison cost us, Reginald said. Voice gravel. Victoria stiffened. Elena's hand finding hers under the table. My truth cost illusions. But I'm here to help on my terms. Proposals flew. Advisory role for Victoria. Equity and renewables merged back. Elena interjected soft. Terms include us. All of us. Evelyn's gaze flicked. Assessing. The nanny speaks. Wife, Elena corrected. Chin high. Reginald's laugh rasped. Surprising. Feisty. Like you at 18. Vic. The ice cracked then, stories unearthed. Reginald's own youth. A forbidden romance quashed by his father. Echoes in his steel. I built walls, he admitted. Don't repeat. Truce formed fragile, Victoria consulting remotely. Family dinners tentative. Back in Burlington. Thaw deepened. Spring unfurled greens. The bookstore hosting a launch Victoria's memoir. Ghosted in Nights. Titled Wildflowers and Wax Seals. Readings drew crowds. Queer youth. Society strays. Elena beaming from the front. To shattering, she toasted after. Glasses clinking. But envy lingered, old acquaintances emailing. Missed the scene. Victoria deleted. Choosing Elena's quiet over gala glare. Summer tested anew. Theodore's wedding announcement in the Times, to a venture capitalist. Tribeca Loft. Victoria sent a card. To New Paths. Reply came handwritten. Yours inspired. Closure's bomb. Bittersweet. Fall harvest. They drove to Stowe. Lodge there's now purchase quiet. A wedding gift self-wrapped. Garden revived. Wildflowers rampant. Nights on the porch with gin and tonics. Stars pricking velvet. Pregnant. Elena teased one dusk. Hand on Victoria's flat belly. Adoption talks budding. Dreams of tiny hands in soil. Victoria laughed. With ideas. But soon. Winter solstice party at the bookstore. Lights strung. Tamales steaming. Frida in a bow. Guests mingled, Lila with a bow. Poets reciting. Reginald wheeled in by Evelyn. Tentative smiles. Toast to resilience. Dances swaying slow. In the loft later. Elena slow danced Victoria across the rug. Our illusion, she murmured. Stronger for breaking. But spring brought storm. Evelyn's diagnosis, cancer. Stage 3 phoned in tears. Victoria flew south. Elena packing herbs and hope. Hospital vigils blurred. Chemo drips. Evelyn's hand frail in hers. I was wrong, she whispered one night. About her. About you. Forgiveness flowed. Tears salting sheets. Reginald softened further. Shares transferred, legacy reclaimed. Not stolen. Evelyn lingered through summer. Fading in the Berkshires. Victoria at bedside. Elena cooking broths from old recipes. Last words. Love fiercely. Darling. Funeral was simple, Lakeview. Wildflowers from Stowe. After work, Victoria scattered ashes in the pond. Elena's arm anchor. She saw. At end, Elena said. Victoria nodded. Grief a tide receding. Fall deep in bonds. Adoption agency visits. Profiles polished. Dreams named. A child with Elena's curls. Victoria's fire. Holidays warmed. Reginald at their table. Tales swapped over pie. New Year's. Under Burlington fireworks. Victoria knelt again. Forever. Elena's yes. Ring renewed. Yet envy echoed faint. A gala invite. Hail gala now. Victoria declined. But sent renewables check largest donor. From afar, she told Elena. Close enough. Spring's bloom. Paper signed a baby girl. Border cross like Elena. Named Luna Moon for their nights. Nursery built in the loft extension. Cries mingling with page turns. Victoria balance board calls with bottles. Elena reading lullabies in Spanish. Summer solstice. 3 years wet. They hiked Sterling Pond. Luna strapped to Elena's chest. Babbling at birds. At the boulder, Victoria traced Elena's ring. We made it. Elena smiled. Luna's fist in her hair. And more. Luna's first word was libro. Book in Elena's lilting Spanish. Uttered at 9 months amid the bookstore's morning hush. Her chubby fingers gnawing a board book of Frida Kahlo portraits. Victoria. Mid-call with a renewables contractor. Dropped the phone. Laughter bubbling as she scooped daughter into arms. Elena's eyes misting over cider mugs. She's yours, Victoria teased. Nuzzling Luna's downy head. The scent of talc and milk a balm against endless to-dos. 3 years into marriage. And their life wove tighter. The loft expanded to 2 bedrooms. Shelves doubled for Luna's growing library. Nights a relay of stories and snuggles. Burlington summers stretched lazy. Lake Champlain's beaches yielding sandcastles and splashes. Luna's giggles chasing gulls. Victoria's firm thrived. Offices now in Montpelier. Grants seeding community solar in low-income tracts. Her name whispered in green circles not with envy, but alliance. Reginald visited monthly. Wheelchair traded for cane. Doting on Luna with wooden trains carved in his workshop. Stories of hale wild youth tempered by regret. You chose better, he'd tell Victoria over coffee. Eyes on Elena chasing Luna through grass. Evelyn's absence shadowed soft. But her garden at the Berkshires bloomed under Victoria's care. Wildflowers transplanted north. Yet ripples stirred. A documentary pitch from Sundance Scouts. Heiress Unbound. Framing their story letters. Leak. Love. Elena demurred over dinner. Luna asleep upstairs. Our private's public enough. Victoria weighed it. Ambition flickering. Could help others. Compromise. Limited series. Voices raw but boundaries firm. Filming invaded fall cameras in the bookstore. Mike's catching Luna's babbles. Elena's discomfort veiled in smiles. For the voiceless, she reminded herself. But nights brought doubts. Bodies curling tight against intrusion. Winter's grip tightened with Luna's fever. Croup rattling her tiny chest. ER runs under sodium lights. Victoria paced linoleum. Elena crooning folk tunes. Reginald arriving with thermometers and tails. Crisis passed. But vulnerability lingered. What if we can't protect her from it all? Victoria whispered post-discharge. Luna bundled between. Elena's kiss to brow. We teach her to shatter illusions early. Spring thawed into expansion. Renewables at Chicago branch. Victoria commuting Amtrak. Elena minding store in Sprout. Distance chafed nights in hotel beds. Calls laced with longing. Miss your chaos, Victoria confessed from a windy city suite. Skyline mocking isolation. Elena's reply, come home to it. Reunion weekends blazed. Picnics in Battery Park when Judy's pulled south. Hands under tables. Stolen kisses amid tourists. Luna's second birthday. A meadow party near Stowe. Piñata bursting candies. Cake smeared on cheeks. Friends from Elena's poetry circle reciting odes to toddler tyranny. Theodore appeared unannounced. Older. Arm linked with his husband, venture was turned activist. Heard about the doc, he said. Hugging Victoria, awkward but true. Proud of you. Elena charmed him over tamales. Luna tugging his tie. Bridges mended in laughter. Summer solstice hike. Luna toddling Pat. Elena's pack heavy with snacks. The pond. She splashed. Declaring Mama Vic to the ripples. Victoria's heart full split. Two mamas, Elena corrected. Lifting her high. Vows renewed informal. Hands in water. Rings dipped. Luna clapping waves. Fall's harvest moon. Filming wrapped. Rough cut screened in the loft. Tears flowed. Letters read aloud. Elena's voice cracking on waiting. Victoria's on storm. Premiere at Tribeca. Red carpet foreign but fierce. Luna in curls. Reginald beaming. Paparazzi flashes met with linked arms. Reviews hailed. A love letter to reinvention. Envy flipped, invites poured. But Victoria curated. Panels on queer family. Not galas. Winter holidays. Berkshire's gathering. Reginald's tree trimmed with heirlooms. Luna's eyes wide at ornaments. Evelyn's portrait hung soft-lit. Her garden's blooms pressed in albums. Toasts to ghosts and graces. Elena's hand in Victoria's under table. Luna asleep on lap. Luna's third spring. Words tumbled. Te quiero. Mama Ana. Elena melted. Teaching phrases over pancakes. Victoria joining stilted. Me soul. Agency calls renewed. Sibling dreams. But waitlists long. Patience, Elena said. Echoing old lessons. Summer storm hit literal. Nor'easter flooding Church Street. Bookstore ankle deep. Volumes sodden. Victoria arrived on. Waiting shelves. Salvaging what could. Audre Lorde sodden but spine strong. Community rallied. Neighbors bailing. Poets drawing pages. Luna helping with tiny bucket. Insurance lagged. But GoFundMe surged. Save the stories. Strangers moved by the dock. Rebuild began communal. Murals by grantees. Shelves reinforced. Grand reopening with readings under rainbows. Fall deepened. Chicago office solid. Victoria splitting weeks. Elena's trust a tether. One night. Hotel call. Miss you. Elena's voice husky. Fly home tomorrow. She did. Landing to Elena at gate. Luna waving sign. Mama's storm returns. Winter's Eve. Luna's fever again. Flu this time. Delirium dreams. Vigil renewed. But stronger Elena's chants. Victoria's stories. Reginald's bare hugs. Recovery brought clarity. Full-time north. Chicago delegated. Family first, Victoria told the board. Voice steady. Springs bloom. Papers arrived. Matched with a boy. Borderkin like Elena. Toddler with solemn eyes. Homecoming chaotic, cribs crammed. cries overlapping, but joy layered. Named Matteo. Gift, his gurgles mingling with Luna's songs. Summer solstice. 4 years wet. Family hike, babe strapped. Path slow. Boulder. Victoria traced Elena's face. Our empire. Elena's kiss. Of hearts. Matteo's first steps wobbled across the loft's rag rug. A wail of triumph at 6 months landing him in Elena's arms. Her laughter echoing off exposed beams as Victoria filmed on her phone. Tears blurring the lens. Papa's boy, Elena cooed. Though no father shadowed their nest, just 2 mothers weaving safety from stories and soil. Luna, 3 and imperious, clapped from her perch on a stool. Demanding me next. The bookstore below thrummed with after-school rush. But upstairs, their world pulsed small and vast. Diapers aired on lines. Board books stacked towers. Coffee mugs ringed with tiny handprints. Renewables crested waves. National grants for urban AG. Victoria keynoting in D.C. Her suit traded for blazers with wildflower pins. Elena's touch. Speak your truth, she'd whisper pre-flights. Kissing knuckles. Post-hoc panels swarmed. How'd you balance empire and love? Victoria's answer. Chose the love that built me. Back home. Elena waited with pozole simmering. Babe's babe. Debriefs over wine, her anchor. Unyielding. Reginald's health waned slow. Hip surgery sidelining him. Berkshire's winters traded for Florida's sun. Visits stretched. Spring breaks driving south. Luna chattering car games. Matteo nursing in laps. Grandpa hail, she'd declare. Climbing his chair. His chuckles frail but fond. You're the reformer I never was, he'd tell Victoria over chess. Elena reading to babes nearby. Legacy shifted. Shares vested in trust for the children. Hale Industries green pivoted under her consults. Envy's ghost resurfaced summer. A Vanity Fair profile. The ex-heiress who chose heart. Photos of their loft life. Luna with paint-smeared cheeks. Matteo and Elena's sling. Comments flooded. Sold out for domesticity? Victoria scrolled once. Deleted the app. Let them, Elena said. Wiping counters. We know the wealth. But doubt nibbled. A bored whisper of full return. For the children's future. Victoria paced. Elena drawing her to bed. Future's here. Hands mapping familiar curves. Love making a reclamation slow. Eyes locked. Whispers fierce. Fall's equinox. Elena's birthday, surprise weekend stow. Lodger. Nanny's minding babes with Lila. They hiked naked dawn, clothes shed at trailhead. Skin kissed by mist, then tangled in quilts. Elena's moans the only sound. Aging suits you, Victoria teased. Tracing silver strands. Elena's retort. Love keeps me young. Vows whispered anew. Through storms. Winter gripped with blizzard. Power out 3 days, candlelit tales. Matteo fussing. Luna inventing shadow puppets. Community aid flowed. Neighbors sharing generators. Bookstore as warming hub. Visa. Grand story hour. Elena leading. Victoria on guitar. Kids rapped. Bonds deepened. Envy forgotten in shared salt. Spring's thaw. Agency surprise. Another match. Girl infant. For the balance. Home swelled, crib quartet. Chaos symphonic. Name Sophia. Wisdom. Her cries harmonizing the din. 4 under 4. Nights fragmented. But mornings glowed. Elena nursing. Victoria brewing. Luna teaching Sibs colors from books. Summer solstice. 5 years wet. Family picnic pondside. Babes in grass. Reginald cane but present. Toasting to wild roots. Hike home. Sophia strapped. Mateo toddling. Luna leading. Boulder. Elena knelt playful. Renew me. Rings exchanged damp. Laughter bubbling. Fall harvest. Documentary sequel pitched. Unbound 2, Legacies. Elena warmer now. Seeing impact. Letters from viewers. You gave me courage. Filming gentle. Family days captured. No leaks this time. Premiere Toronto. Red carpet with kids in tow. Luna stealing mics. Mateo waving. Sophia sleeping serene. Applause thundered. Victoria's speech. Love's the true inheritance. Winter holidays. Berkshire's full. Reginald's tree. Evelyn's garden lit luminaria. Babes in heirlooms. Elena's tamales tradition now. Reginald pulled Victoria aside. Proud. Truly. Tears pricked. Reconciliation's quiet peak. Luna's 4th birthday. Spring rain. Indoor fort from sheets. Cake smeared. Sophia crawling joins. Big sister, Luna beamed. Elena's eyes soft. Victoria captured it. Heartful. Our story grows. Summer storm. Chicago expansion. Victoria weeks away. Virtual reads with babes. Homesick hit hard. FaceTime tears. Elena's We're Your North. Return flight. Airport reunion. Arms full. Kisses stolen amid luggage. False colors. Elena's manuscript. Cookbook memoir. Seasons of storm. Recipes laced with letters echoes. Victoria edited nights. Babes asleep. Pride swelling. Launch Burlington. Sold out. Oaxacan moles beside wildflower salads. Readings tear-streaked. Winter's Eve. Flu cycle all down. Elena nursing fevers. Victoria tagging in. Delirium dreams for her, city pulling. But Elena's hand grounded. Recovery circle. Stories shared. Bonds iron. Springs bloom. 6 years. Adoption finalized full. Family photos framed. Hike with pack train babes. Pond splash finale. Empire. Victoria echoed old words. Elena. Of us. The years layered like sedimentary rock. Each season etching deeper grooves into their lives. The loft now a honeycomb of routines and revelations. Luna at 5 orchestrated bookstore school. Bossing Mateo 3. All curls and questions. Through alphabet hunts amid shelves. Sophia. Solemn observer. Trailing with the stuffed Frida clutched tight. Victoria. Desk wedged by the window overlooking Church Street. Balanced empire remnants. Renewables of force. Satellites in Portland and Austin. Her role visionary. Keynotes on queer capital. Panels dismantling dynasties. Elena's cookbook soared second print. Tours to Oaxaca kin. Babes in tow for summer immersions. Dusty markets. Abuelita hugs. Recipes rooted live. Reginald's decline accelerated fall. Parkinson's tremor. Berkshire sold to fund care. Florida condo his perch. Visits weekly via train. Luna drawing strong grandpa cards. Mateo building block canes. You mended what I broke, he'd rasped to Victoria. Elena serving herbal teas. Legacy's final gift. Foundation charter. Hail name on queer youth shelters. For the storms ahead. Envy's last whisper came veiled. A suitor from old circles. Venture Air proposing partnership. Hail 2.0. Over cocktails at the Nomad. Charming. He echoed Theodore's polish, eyes on her ringless business hand. Missed your fire in the rooms, he flattered. Victoria smiled cool. Fires burn elsewhere now. Report to Elena over Pozole. Laughter shared. But a pang what-ifs dusted. Good, Elena said, pulling her close. Ours burns steady. Nights reaffirm. Bodies familiar yet electric. Hands knowing every scar. Release a quiet thunder. Winter's grip. Elena's tour clash. Cookbook Fest in San Francisco. Victoria's DC. Summit same week. Babes to Reginald's. Lila pinch mom. But separation chafed. Texts fervent. Calls midnight confessions. Reunion Airport. Elena's cab from San Francisco Airport. Victoria's from Dulles. Colliding gates in chaos. Kisses fierce amid crowds. Never again, they vowed. Hands linked home. Spring's equinox. Luna's questions bloomed. Why two mamas? Over park picnic. Elena fielded soft. Love's shapes vary. Ours fit perfect. Sophia echoed. Fit. Matteo nodded sage. Victoria swelled, their truths. Unshielded. Summer solstice. 7 years wed. Stowe renewal. Lodge full family. Reginald wheeled porch. Babes fireflies in dusk. Vows lakeside. Babes scattering petals. Rings wet with splashes. Through every season, Elena pledged. Victoria. And bloom. Fall harvest. Documentary 3. Roots rewoven. Focus on family. Film tender Luna reading letters aloud. Matteo painting wildflowers. Sophia whispering Te quiero. Premiere Sundance. Snow-crusted. Standing ovation. Kids center stage. After-party toasts. To the Hales who healed. Winter holidays. Reginald's last Berkshire's echo. Tree-trimmed collaborative. Tamales tradition. His stories fading but eyes bright on grandkids. New Year's. Bedside. Enough, he whispered to Victoria. Passing quiet. Dawn light. Hand in hers. Funeral lakeside. Ashes to pawn with Evelyn's. Wildflowers adrift. Grief communal. Babes drawing rainbows. Elena's vigil cooks. Community casseroles. Spring's thaw. Foundation renamed Hail Horizons. Shelters opening first in Vermont. Plaque. For Reginald's redemption. Victoria's keynote. He taught late. But true. Summer storm. Oaxaca trip. Abuelita's village. Babes in dust. Elena translating lore. Luna grinding corn. Matteo chasing goats. Sophia nursing under mesquite. Home enriched. Phrases bilingual. Hearts wider. False colors. Elena's second book. Storm's children. Parenting queer. Victoria forward. She mothered my rebirth. Launch packed. Readings intergenerational. Winter's Eve. Flu dodge. Family fort. Stories shadowed. Matteo snoring mid-tale. Elena to Victoria. Our best chapter. Spring's bloom. 8 years. Luna schoolbound. Backpack proud. Drop-off tears for mamas. Grow wild, Elena whispered. Sophia echoes. Matteo clings. Victoria's firm Global Mexico City branch. Elena consulting recipes for co-ops. Summer solstice. Anniversary hike, babes older. Path shore. Boulder. Elena's hand in hers. Still storming. Victoria. With you. Always. Fall harvest. Legacy full. Horizons Gala virtual. Funds raised. Kids performing poems. Envy, a relic. Shattered glass recycled. Winter's hush. Family curled. Luna reading. Sophia singing. Mateo dreaming. Elena's head on Victoria's lap. Our illusion, she murmurs. Victoria kisses crown. Truth's better. Years folded forward. Children rising, Luna's first crush. Girl from class. Mateo's sketches. Wild and free, Sophia's stories. Bilingual bridges. Victoria and Elena. Silvered now. Hands veined with time. Still hiked. Still wrote. Still loved fierce letters occasional. But touches daily. In the end, or the ongoing, they stood at the pond. Grandkids someday splashing. But for now, just them. Worth the shatter, Elena said. Victoria. Every piece.